Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. It is August the 12th and I've got great news. The month isn't even halfway over and we've exceeded my goal of $500 raised for research into children's cancers. Thank you to everyone who's given so far. You can still give more. It would be greatly appreciated and it would be a big help. And if you want to give to research for children's cancers, there's a link down below. I'm doing the Great Cycle Challenge. It's riding something with wheels every day for the month of August. Well, my commitment was to ride 30 kilometers, which is 1 kilometer a day, which, considering my health conditions, that's pretty good. But I've been doing a little bit better than that. Most days it's around 1.5 kilometers that I've been getting so far. I will have to take a couple days off where I'll be trying to do some extra walking instead, because we'll be camping and I won't have my trike around. It's just way too big to lug around. You know, those big adult tricycles, just too big to take camping when I go camping with my daughter, her husband, and our grandchildren, which will be a lot of fun. So what are we looking at today for knives? This is the Ruike P801. It's all Blackwash, stainless steel frame, Sandvik 14C28 and blade, or you can get it in a gray wash with some blue accents. It's got a blue pocket clip, a blue pivot collar, and blue thumb studs, and it costs less money than the Blackwash version. I really like the look of the Blackwash version, full flat grind. This is one of my favorite knives of its type that I've reviewed in the years that I've had the channel. Steel FrameLock knives, where they're all steel, isn't always, you know, the type of knife that I like, but this thing's quite comfortable. It's got a great price point, and it's got an exceedingly good blade. So if you want to hear more about the details, stick around. We're going to get to the tabletop and take a good close look at the Ruike P801. So there you go. First, let's do a size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1. I'm a little too close to the table to do a straight lineup, but there you go. If we line up the pivot pins, it's a smaller knife in pretty much every way. You know, put those pivot pins together. We've got a shorter blade, although we've got pretty much the same cutting edge, and put the pivot pins together. And we've got a shorter handle, a little bit thinner. What do we have? Well, like I said, we've got a FrameLock, and there's the milled out section for the FrameLock. The steel for this is 3CR14N for the handle. It's decent enough stainless steel for a handle. We've got a big lanyard hole here on both sides. We've got open pillar construction. We've got these hourglass shaped pillars posts back here, and the pocket clip is a deep carry clip. It's flat on the top right there, and it works really well to go in and out of a pocket. Wants to climb over all the time, and it goes to the full depth right away. Hides the knife in there. If you get the Stonewash version, this is going to be a bright blue and it'll stand out. I decided I was going to pay a little bit extra to get the Blackwash version, and I really like what I got. The handle's got a bit of an angle change right there, so it's not really designed to fill in the palm of the hand, like rounded, but it sits fairly well in the hand. It's comfortable for me. Remember, my hands are just a little bit into the extra large range, so it's going to feel good for most people unless you've got very large hands, like deep into the extra large range. You've got just a little bit of chamfering on the edges of the handle all the way around, and it's quite good. The FrameLock arm has a lockup that is not, well, it's pretty close to the halfway across point. It's not late in my opinion. It's not early at all either. I'd like it to be a tiny bit earlier, but not bad at all, especially for the price we paid. And the price was listed at the beginning, and I'll talk about it later on. We've got nice jimping on the side of the FrameLock release, so it's easy to get good engagement without slipping to release the lockup, and it just works. And like I said, we've got a flipper that's easy to get the finger around. Light switch method works really well, and pulling down on an angle works well as well. So I like that. But we've also got thumb studs. It's a little bit harder to do the thumb studs with the left hand than it is with the right, but it's easy enough to get in there and do that. I mean, with the right hand, it's even easier. I wouldn't mind if these thumb studs were just a tiny bit bigger, because I didn't always get engagement. Once I got used to the knife, it worked just fine. But before then, I found that they were just a little bit short for my liking. I wouldn't want them much larger, but just a tiny bit larger might be nice. We've got a pivot collar. Like I said, it's blue on the Stonewash version, but it's just hides in there with the Blackwash. We've got a T8 screw there, and these are T6 button screws, which I don't really like all that much, but I've never had problems with the screws on RUIKE knives, at least not that I can remember. By the way, I got mine from RUIKEKnives.ca, so if you're in Canada, you can get this knife in Canada without having any worries about it crossing the border, because they're in stock in Canada for a great price. Okay, let's talk about the prices. In Canada, this is $45.95 Canadian. The Stonewash version's $37.95 Canadian. I think it's a little hidden gem because we've got 14C28N stainless steel blade made by Sandvik. Not bad at all. It's got a nice drop point here. It's just a little under 1/8 of an inch thick, full flat grind. Decent sharpening job on here. A nice shape, good for piercing, good for slicing, and it does slice very well. Thin behind the grind, nicely thin. I really, really like this. The sharpener's choil is just barely perfect. It's big enough to get past that plunge, but it's not so large to waste any steel, so that's done very, very well. We've got a little bit of jimping here for the thumb riser. It's good to engage the thumb, and it's nice and secure grip. Reverse grip works, even a reverse pull grip works. It's a good, comfortable knife. Let's go over all the sizes and dimensions and that stuff. I'll have this on the screen when I go over it all. 120 grams, 4.25 ounces. It could be less if they would have done some little internal milling on this side to make it a bit lighter. I wish they would have. The factory sharpness, 85 bes. Quite a bit better than average from the knives that I've reviewed. The cutting edge length is 87.3 millimeters, 3.44 inches. The blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, is 86.3 millimeters, 3.4 inches. The thickness of the blade up here at the ricasso, 3.03 millimeters, 0.1195. So like I said, just under 1/8 of an inch. The blade depth is biggest right here, 24.1 millimeters, 0.95 of an inch. The thickness behind the grind, 0.4 millimeters, 15.5 thousandths of an inch. Yeah, that's why it slices so well. The grind angles, there's less than 2 degrees variability along the length of the knife. This side starts off at 17.5 down here in the middle, and in the belly, 18.9. This side starts off at 18.1 and goes to 19. So pretty good consistency, quite a bit better than average from what I've seen. So I like that. The handle length is 114 millimeters, which is 4.49 inches. The grip area is just under 9.5 centimeters, just under 3 3/4 inches. The handle thickness is 9.36 millimeters, which is 0.369 inches. The handle depth, that's this measurement, it's biggest right here, 23 millimeters, 0.91 of an inch. When the knife is closed, the widest point is actually up here, and that is 29.1 millimeters, 1.15 inches. And, oh, I forgot to measure the total length of the knife. The very specific numbers are on the screen, but let's take a look. It's a bit under 8 inches in total. So that's not bad at all. You know, you've got over 3.5 inches, well, around 3.5 inches in the blade and around 4.5 inches in the handle. That's a good balance. The ratio is very good. The actual balance point is right there. So it's pretty much at this transition point, and that's a little bit handle heavy in my opinion. I would like the balance point to be over here. And if they would have milled out the inside, like they do often on titanium handles, you know, where the handle's a little bit thicker, they mill out the inside to make it even lighter. I wish they would have done a little bit of that on this to make it even lighter. So now that we've seen the specs and stuff, let's open this thing up and take a look inside. All right, there you go. We've got stainless steel ball bearings, 10 ball bearings on each side. The pivot screw has got a tiny bit of Loctite in it, but it was no problem taking it apart. Didn't slip in there at all, didn't strip anything. The body screws, they came out very well. There's no risk of stripping either one of those, so that's a really good thing. You can see that there's a little D-shaped part right there on the pivot screw, so it doesn't spin around when you go to take it apart, which is really good. The D shape is right in here. Here you can see they use grease for their pivots, which is okay. It's especially good if you're a person who barely does any maintenance on your knives, because grease is going to stay there for a very long time. I like to use a light oil. With a light oil, you get a little bit better action, but you do have to do more maintenance. So I will have to do a little bit extra maintenance on there with the light oil that I put in. We've got a stop pin right there that you can see. It's just a well-made knife. The body screws, yep, it's simple construction. It came apart without any troubles, and there's nothing odd when I take it apart to see. I am so very glad I took it apart, because now the action is even faster. That light oil that I put in there is just great. If I haven't told you recently, this is what I use for oil. Lucas Oil Products fishing reel oil. Yep, fishing reel oil. I could use a knife oil. Knife oils tend to be overpriced because they're overpriced for what they are. And I'm a budget guy. I know that there's better oils than this around. This is not the best oil for knives out there, but it's a very good oil that performs very, very well. There's extra hydrophobic agents in the oil. I know oil is already hydrophobic, but it just works really, really well in there. You know, it's designed for fishing reels that go into salt water and stuff. So, and the oil stays into place. So that's a good oil. And now I forgot to wipe my hands after I did that, so now I got some oil on my fingers that I was just transferring to the knife. So let's wipe it off and hopefully get that oil off my fingertips. I really like this knife. The action's good. There's some cons though, aren't there? Pocket clip is right side only. If they would make it left side as well, then they would have to add an over travel stop, because there's no over travel protection there. There's a little bit of protection with the pocket clip, but not an awful lot. So there is that to think about. You know, don't just go pushing that lock arm way out of the way. It's going to fatigue that spot right there, and then you're going to end up breaking the knife. I've never had that happen in my lifetime, and I've had a lot of FrameLock knives, but theoretically it's a possibility. So there's that. The look of this knife, I like it all black. They do have their name sort of in an off-white. It's not too terribly large on there, so this side I'm okay with. This side, it's not super large, the writing on the knife either, but we've got the date of manufacture up there behind the thumb stud. We've got the serial number on the ricasso here, and then we've got their RK logo, P801-SB. That's for the P801, that's the black. And then it says Sandvik 14C28N steel. So I'm not that fond of this. Like the date of manufacturer and the serial number, no problem. over here on this side, since they've already put the brand name here, I wish they'd leave off their circle logo and just say 14C28N. They don't need the word Sandvik or steel. And that would make it a little cleaner. It's not super messy with branding all over the place, but you know me, I always nitpick and I go for all the little details. I'd like this to be even cleaner than it is. And it'd be awesome. Right now, it's just very, very, very good. So I like this knife. The price point works for me. There's no reasons to avoid this knife based on price. In my opinion, it's comfortable. It's got a great edge. Great for piercing if you need to. Wonderful for slicing. Not uncomfortable. Pocket clip is a nice deep carry pocket clip. Lockup is good. Action is very good. There was no blade play, side to side, up and down. I never had to adjust the pivot screw during my testing. Lockup is okay. Oh, I didn't talk about this. Blade centering, it's very, very good. It's a good knife. I am very happy with this knife, and I think you will be too. Like I said, if you're buying from RUIKE Knives, go to RuikeKnives.ca and use the link I've got down below. It's not a referral link. And they say they keep their prices so low that they can't give me a discount code for you guys. So it is the best price in Canada by a pretty good margin. And if you, at least from what I could find. So if you're in Canada, check them out there. If you're outside of Canada, you can still buy from RuikeKnives.ca, but perhaps you'd rather check out White Mountain Knives. Save your 10% there with coupon code CCE. And like I said, Knives and Tools has it in Europe. Wow. It's gotten louder too, because the action is just that much smoother. It just wants to fly out. So I am very, very happy with this knife. Thanks to all my supporters. Thank you to everybody who's helped with the Great Cycle Challenge. If you got, $2, $3, $4, you can contribute to the Great Cycle Challenge. If you want to contribute 70, 80, 90 bucks, hey, that's great too. Whatever you can do to help people. My friend, his son, I just talked with him about his son yesterday again. And yeah, Caleb is doing very poorly. For those of you who pray, please keep Caleb in your prayers. And his parents as well. And his sister. He's got a younger sister. Thank you to my supporters for this channel. Patreon supporters, you guys are awesome. If you want to join my Patreon team, go to patreon.com/CCE, and there's some pretty good perks for you guys there. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.